Hello and welcome back to the Voiro Podcast. We're on season 7, episode 2, and I've been told not to look into the camera, right? So Abash, don't look into the camera. And welcome to the podcast, Abash.
Thank you.
Abash leads enterprise sales for us at Voiro, and he has been with us for the last 2.5 years. And we have been. Why did you give me that look? Not?
It's going to be 4 years.
Oh shit! But you were enterprise sales only for 2.5, right? Before that, you were CSM.
But I've been with Voiro for almost.
All right, fine. Stand corrected. 4 years. Good God, you've been with us so long.
Can you believe it?
Yeah. No, I can't. Every year has been interesting. The resets, and we are like wondering why we're doing this still. Right. So speaking of resetting and pivoting and so on and so forth, last year we saw the market consolidate. Right. Yeah. Everybody was buying everybody else. There was a lot of confusion in the supply side and the open market. A lot of our customers were considering buying each other. Then they decided not to buy each other. Then other two customers got together and said, okay, fine, now we're going to make a good marriage. So we basically were rammed around a little bit. And so we said, from the supply side problems that we've been solving, maybe we need to start looking outside and seeing whether we can actually impact top line revenue for our publishers. And for people who don't know, Voiro deals with premium publishers, and we deal with solving problems in the direct guaranteed ad sales management space. Traditionally, we sit on a shelf called the OMS, but we don't like to call ourselves OMS. We like to call ourselves a revenue management system. So we connect the entire workflow end to end, and we have different actors on this workflow, from sales to ops to finance, and then we connect to all these downstream systems that actually deliver these ads. So last year, we decided to do a bunch of things. One is obviously include AI in our platform. Second was to up our analytics game.
Fair.
And the third one, we decided to take a punt on trying to fix a problem that we saw recurring with our publishers in enabling a new line of revenue for them where they were able to control it and be able to find benefits from it, which was self-service for direct guaranteed campaigns. And 2 years ago, we saw a lot of our customers develop their own self-service portals, right? We also kind of trashed some, I agree, on the same podcast, right? And we're like, oh my God, it's so difficult to use these self-service platforms. And then we decided to go put our toe into that same water and say, let's venture out here, because, what we saw was that while everybody was setting up their self-service portals, they were also fragmenting an already fragmented market for the demand side, right? And so what the walled gardens were doing was that they were constantly aggregating this market and making it easier and easier to get across to the market, but they were also in that process commoditizing the market, right? While the open market, where all of our premium publishers actually thrive, right? They were actually getting marginalized while spending a ton of money on creating new and interesting content and buying these very expensive sports rights. So there had to be a balance in the market, and we thought, okay, let's throw our hat in the ring and see whether we can solve this problem for our premium publishers. Scary, hairy problem, right? And then, everybody's like, oh my God, are you like Trade Desk? Are you like this DSP and SSP and whatever else? And we were like, no, we just want to be a channel of sales for our publishers, and that can help them create a formidable, repeatable line of business that is operationally efficient, right? And so we set up this self-service marketplace for premium publishers and for premium inventory to be accessed by SMB advertisers and mid-size advertisers and SMB agencies. Yep. So we've been in the market now with our first phase, right, for the last 12 weeks. And you have been going pillar to post, trying to get feedback from the market. And we've also got a nice fillip today with the fact that we've got IPN inventory on the platform. So over to you. Tell us what Brand Center is all about. What have you been doing, and how has it been working for us so far?
Yeah, it's when you say us.
I mean us as in publishers and us, not just Brand Center, the Brand Center team.
Yeah, fair enough. It's been, not gonna lie, a lot of work that has gone into, because we are entering an industry where, to be honest, there's already a lot of players.
Yeah.
DSPs have a decent market share in this entire space, and they are solving XYZ problems, and publishers already have ways of trying to gamify this DSP sort of an ecosystem to their gain.
Right.
Be it either when you do programmatic, there are PG, PMP sort of workflows and everything that you can do. So the first barrier that we did sort of sort out is when we approached even our publishers to get something like this up, was that how are you different from a DSP and all that?
Correct. Or how are you different from my self-service portal in your itself?
Exactly. And coincidentally enough, all of these guys have the self-serve portal, but still they believe that yes, a marketplace play like this could actually work. And you're different from a DSP because you actually are able to take in and give a lot more back to the brands and agencies, because at the end of the day, those are the guys that are bringing in the demand, and you got to listen to what demand wants. So over the last 12 weeks. Yeah, see, it's been so long. It's just...
You're in a time warp. Like I said, 2.5 years when you actually 4.5 years here.
Yeah, it's on that front. So when we built, and the initial days, I think you and I had we were just holding what is everybody going to tell that, hey, listen, this is not required at all. This is nothing. You're coming into a place and making it even more complicated.
Yeah.
Don't do this and all. We were like...
But we heard a lot of naysaying as well, right?
Yeah, we did. And which actually helped us sort of pivot in a sense of the product to actually deliver value. Because if you look at it, we are trying to deliver value across 3 different panes.
Okay.
So the levels would be your brands, to agencies, and also to our publishers, because 3 different value groups that we're trying to survive. So initially when we started going out to, then we sort of realized that all 3 of them have different hooks. We understood the publisher hook. That's how we got all of our good guys onboarded onto the platform, so that inventory is accessible to all of these brands.
Big thank you to the publishers who are listed on the platform right now.
Yeah, now huge thank you to them. And because we have these 5 players with us as of today, we're able to go to the market to these brands and agencies where I think we've spoken to almost 260 brands and agencies within the last 12 weeks, which is a lot in terms. And we've heard a lot of good stuff, a lot of bad stuff, and a lot of neutral plays where they were like, hey, listen, if you did this, this is what it is. And it's very interesting stuff, which, to be honest, you'll get only if you go out in the market.
Yeah. So I remember some of your demo sessions with the agencies were almost like a therapy session, right? Where they were just unloading on you as to what they want with what they want in the market. And it's an interesting play because we decided to actually do in virtual demos where we had them, invited them to a virtual call so that we could actually chat with them instead of it just being a video that we sent out saying, here's how you use the platform. So the engagement levels have been unprecedented, and I didn't expect people to actually come on to the demos. I don't know about you. Did you expect them to come on to demos?
100%, because before we even got out to market, we were like, hey, listen, this problem exists. And now that problem exists was say 5 people in this room of sitting at Voiro were like, hey, listen, this problem exists. We got to put money on this. We got to there is a problem.
And when you say problem, if you can articulate it for people who are listening to us, what is that problem that we're trying to solve?
So if you take it from the name itself, right, accessing premium inventory. Today, in this entire ecosystem, what happens is that DSPs today when they have to access anything apart from Google or a Meta, they are sort of hands-tied. They have to depend on agencies, or they have to reach out to each and every publisher, identify, evaluate, do all that handy work, and then 3 months, 4 months down the line, once someone has worked hard enough to understand the entire game and the returns that they could expect, that's when they even get into execution, or by that time they've lost interest and they're just sticking with their Google.
And by they, you mean the DSP who's selling the brands.
The brands. They're missing out because, yes, Google and Meta are great platforms and stuff like that, but you got to diversify.
Right.
You got to use, because there are a lot of premium audiences and very well cohorted and actually highly engaged audiences available in these platforms.
Yeah.
There's a reason why so many people put money into a Jio Hotstar, into a PhonePe, into a Paytm.
Absolutely.
And it definitely works. So A was that we understood that this accessing this audience, this first party, very interesting audience, and this innovative ad formats. You look at some of our publishers, the ad formats, PhonePe's icons, scratch cards from Paytm, and I'm sure PhonePe has the same. Look at the OTT space as well. They come up with, say, pause the ads and stuff.
And also targeting, right? There's a lot of targeting and a lot of custom work that goes into creating packages for people. And
all of these guys have put really smart people behind this, and they built really great stuff. So When I say the problem is that how you access all of this great stuff.
Yeah. So basically inventory discovery
Yes.
for mid-sized brands,
Yeah.
right?
So if these guys have to, like, someone has done the hard work of doing all this, and we are channel partners that we're coming in, and we got to make sure that people are able to discover this and put it in their consideration set. Because as of today, we all know the stats, 70 to 80% of their entire ad revenue goes to Meta and Google. So if that's happening and everybody's scrambling that, okay, listen, if it's only a 20% budget from each brand that I get access to,
Right.
pick mine, don't pick the other person, do this, don't do that. Everybody is out there, and there's so many permutation combinations of why would you choose to do X, Y, Z.
Right.
So the first problem that we identified, that accessibility is a problem.
Sure.
So that's what we did. We said that, hey, listen, if today brands have to access all of them, they either go to agencies or they go to directly to these publishers, and each of these publishers have different self-serve platforms, and I'm accessing different logins, trying to find different media, and then I have to stitch all of that reporting all together from myself, or the agency does it for me. And even then, it's a lot of work. I mean, like, it took me, I think my sentence was so long, so imagine.
Yeah,
like,
the kind of
just,
work. Yeah.
It's a lot. And then you figure out that, okay, if you're going to help these brands, then there are agencies. Are they also facing this problem? And that's when you realize that, yes, if you look at any agency that's trying to grow and increase their media capabilities and increase their portfolio in terms of offerings to their clients, digital media buying is a forefront. Like, there's a lot of money that is going into the space and all. And if you're able to tell these agencies that, hey, listen, stop, you don't have to invest so much into this entire, place to access these premium publishers, build relationships and all that. Since we are moving into a world which is a lot more tech-enabled, a platform like this makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
So if you're able to give agencies control, if you're able to give brands transparency and stuff like that, and if you're able to go back to publishers that, hey, listen, if you had to service these SMB brands and mid-tier brands and SMB agencies and mid-tier agencies, which, to be honest, always result to a high, sort of a revenue contributor 2-3 years down the line.
Yeah, you have to keep nurturing them.
And that's a study everybody in the industry knows, that if they're an SMB today, chances are that they are going to grow into a 3x, 4x, and then they're going to be your LCS big contributor client. But you got there first. That's a big sort of a play to do.
Yeah.
And if you're able to make it accessibility as a very easy point, then this high investment that's going for publishers to access this SMB and mid-target across agencies and brands, you're sort of taking that chunk away, which means that publishers can now utilize that money to be more innovative.
Yeah,
Go after more content.
Yeah.
Come up with more innovative ad formats or enhance their audience in XYZ fashion so that brands will keep wanting to come back to advertise with them.
Absolutely.
So, Kavita, your question, what was that problem? It was accessibility, because each of these three tiers had, when I say three tiers, they're brands, agencies and publishers, they had their own problem statements, their own wish lists, their own outcomes that they wanted to achieve. And that's how it's been with taking Brand Center up.
Nice. So that's accessibility. And the other point was that you made was about, more on the education front, right?
Yeah.
And where an agency that was doing organic social, for example, is going to go and move into planned media buying, right? And that leap that they're trying to make has to be made either in conjunction with an agency desk that they have access to, or having a contact within the publisher sales team, or they came with some experience.
Yeah.
But then as a mid-size agency, if you're trying to cross this bridge, there is no bridge to cross. You either have to go, you either have to go in, guns blazing, right, with a large customer and learn on the job, or you need to take the help of a large established agency who can show you the ropes and see whether they can buy on your behalf, or you buy from that agency as a sub-agency or whatever else, right? But to understand how to plan digital media and how do you plan or create a campaign digital media, what goes into it and what is up for sale, what are the kinds of line items, for the sake of another word, or what's on sale in terms of inventory and targeting, is a bit of a black box for a mid-size agency, right? Unless, like I said, you came from a larger agency and then went on to a mid-size agency for whatever reasons, and you are bringing that learning from outside. It's not easily accessible. And not because publishers don't want it to be accessed. It is because of the fact that accessibility is one of the things that drains out their efficiency as well. How many people are they going to put against this long tail and for how long? Right? So they need to ensure that this channel of sales actually starts to become, two-pronged for them. One is they educate the market. And the second one is allow for the market to discover inventory. And the third one is to allow publishers to discover what are the RFPs that these mid-size agencies are looking for, so that they know that this is what I need to bring onto my platform. These are the packages I need to go out with. This is the kind of audiences that they are looking for, and so on and so forth, so that there is stuff at scale that they can access.
So I'm pretty sure anyone who's listening to this, right, they are like, hey, listen, these guys are talking about all of this, but there are DSPs that exist. SSPs that exist. And if you ask me in that 12 weeks what's been happening, I've also been addressing this. So yes,
how are you different from a DSP and SSP, Abash?
It's been so crazy. Yes, because to be honest, these DSPs also are amazing, right? They've curated a lot of audience sets. They are able to deliver, and they have tapped in with a lot of publishers. And they are also delivering value to this entire ecosystem of brands and agencies, and even publishers. They're delivering so much value to publishers. So if you are going to the market and you're telling them that, hey, listen, yet again, there's another platform, you got to access this.
Go with you.
So, of course, you're going to have these questions coming up from agencies and brands. And if you realize that if your work and DSPs are accessible only by agencies, only agencies have this.
So you and I can't go access a DSP?
We could, but if our media spends are not at the level, then probably you wouldn't want to have this.
It's too much effort to impact.
Exactly, because you will have a recurring money that you'll have to spend to this DSP, and your marketing spends are not that high, so why? Which is why it makes sense for agencies, because they have a club of people to service.
Sure. So also seasonal advertisers start to miss out on this. I don't have a DSP seat as a seasonal advertiser. If I come in only for the summers, if I come in only for the winters, etc.
So if I'm spending say 3 lakhs or 2 lakhs or even say 5 lakhs per month on a DSP, but my media spends for that month, say, or for a SMB guy is below that. And for a mid-target guy, if he's spending 35, 40 lakhs per month, 5 lakhs is just moving off, or whatsoever number is moving off just for the DSP. So mathematically, you'll be like, hey, listen, I can just take that money, reinvest, I'll just work with an agency. Makes sense.
So in our hypothesis, what are the kinds of agencies that we're going behind in terms of campaign spends that we said that they will probably be spending? What was the hypothesis that we went behind? What was the average campaign spend? And what did we find?
So so there's a thought behind that, because it comes from publishers also setting a minimum spend. Because to be honest, that's what it takes. You can't go and spend Meta and stuff, Google, because the tech and everything is so scaled, you can go start with even 1,000 rupees budget.
Correct.
Or a 2,000, 3,000 rupees budget.
Correct.
But if you're accessing, but if you're accessing the same thing on a front of, say, when it comes to direct publishers and stuff like that, that kind of a budget spending is just nonsensical, right? Unless you're able to
It'll be a drop in the ocean, basically.
Exactly. But unless you're able to scale that tech to come at par at what Google and Meta are able to provide, which is a truly self-serve platform, which we are trying to achieve.
For the publisher through this platform.
Correct. In a long-term game. So if you're able to achieve that, then nothing like it, then publishers also will be able to innovate in a very different front.
Correct.
So if you're able to build that entire game, then it's a whole different sort of results you're able to achieve for brands and agencies. So, and there are a lot of caveats coming here, right? Anyone who's listening to this will be like, what about rates?
Don't look at the camera, man.
I know for a fact, because I've been sitting in these meetings for the last 12 weeks. I just know exactly what the other person's going to say now.
Are they curious about the rates?
Of course.
So what are the reactions with the rates? They're like, oh, it's not that expensive, or is it, oh my God, it's so expensive?
Not about that. I think it's more on the front where, listen, agencies are like, hey, who else can see these rates? And this is an industry thing, okay? Everybody protects the rates that they have and all of that.
But then they're working in the same agency, right? So today, if I go to say a Geo Hotstar, or what do they call JioStar, right? Sony and Z, and I'm Agency X, right? Agency X will have their 3 rate cards. So you have I know all the rates.
It works. Brilliantly, it works. Which is why, it's a surprising question, because I can answer it easily. It works. So it's so I know you're going to ask me that question. How are you different from a DSP and stuff like that?
Right.
I'm going to tell you that, hey, listen, you're accessing a DSP's audience network, whereas I'm giving you access to a specific publisher's direct first party access there, because you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. I'm giving you direct access to a publisher.
Right.
And to be honest, DSPs have not been able to give that space. So I'm hoping that that value that people see from accessing a platform like that, because at the end of the day, even publishers would want people to work directly with them.
Absolutely. Just to wrap this up, right? So from an insights perspective, there is There's so much that we've discussed today that are nuggets from our last 12 weeks of dealing with 250 agencies and advertisers, over 100 demos, and iterating on this platform that is still in like literally phase -1 at this point in time. And we know it's going to be something that we need to keep developing and not get carried away by what we want to be also like, right?
Yeah.
But actually it's difficult to constantly keep in focus what the publisher needs out of this, right? Because we are very pro supply side, empowerment for the want of any other word, right? I do believe that we really need to think about the publishers, because without publishers in place and without the open market in place, there's a huge threat to the fact that a lot of these things will get so deeply commoditized that we won't even recognize what's a good thing and what is premium, what we want. Like, even if I was a brand and I was willing to pay more, I would still be, I don't think I would be able to sort of get across to finding something that's custom that sets me apart from another brand.
So I'll give you an example, Kavita. When I said accessibility is the core thing, right? If I chose to do it through a DSP and the publisher has, say, argument's sake, has 10 media options.
Right.
When I do through XYZ packs, the reality of the situation today is that only through that DSP, only 5 options are
Yeah,
there.
because to scale, you have to simplify,
Exactly.
right? Which also brings us to the point is how scalable is this platform, right? So the biggest problem that we also have, saying, okay, so how is this going to be different? So one of the things that we are betting on, and because we are choosing the supply side to champion at this point in time, we're not champion, while we love the demand and we love advertisers and we know advertisers have different choices. But I think what we're trying to champion here is the fact that publishers need to be given a better chance to succeed in the open marketplace. Yeah. That's number one. Number two is that having an internal system that's already in place, whether you have a competing OMS or whether you have Voiro as your OMS or revenue management system, as we like to call it, or any kind of automation platform, definitely helps if we can integrate into it so that operationally it just becomes an easy flow of information. Yeah. Think of it as channel sales, think of it as your external sales interface, but it's not dismissing the fact that you are amongst a selection set, right? And that selection set is, if you're an OTT company, then you are going to be in a selection group of other OTT organizations. So you might as well be there in the same manner as they're offering themselves up to the demand side, which is direct and guaranteed and transparent.
Yeah. So I just wanted to add another point, Kavita, is that while you're accessing inventory from a specific publisher and stuff like that, we do have a lot of ambitions towards bundling, towards event-based, because now we've onboarded IPL inventory. Yeah. Which is a big deal, right? Yeah. For us, it's a big deal. So we've gotten
that. For India, it's a big deal, man.
I know. So we have that inventory, and any brands or agencies are looking to access now. Accessibility becomes more important.
Even just general curiosity gets addressed at this point in time, right? So you're able to see what's on offer and what's going on. Yeah. So from a premium guaranteed perspective, like what you spoke about in terms of bundling and event-based. It's also common in e-commerce platforms to have event-based sales.
Exactly.
Right? And so we're hoping that e-commerce platforms now also will see the value in it and start listing inventory here. More from participating on sale days, participating in certain types of bundles that you don't want only based on just search keywords, right? While that is a hygiene part, while product listing ads and stuff like that, and keyword search ads, etc., are definitely something that you need to invest in. I think the ability to create awareness, engagement, and choice, right, and be there in terms of branding to a user is definitely something that cannot be ignored, and it always compounds. You can't start and stop it. I think it has to be an always-on thing, along with your ROI-based, performance-based, drive your cart fills and drive your click-throughs or whatever else you want to talk about, right? So that's what we are betting on. So if you are a publisher or a mid-sized brand, what is the message that you want to give them right now? Since we are deeply in the throes of giving various types of demos and saying, come on guys, use the platform and give us some feedback. What would you want them to take away?
I think it's conversations. We are trying really hard. The way I see it is that we are trying to build something in the market which is quite different.
Yeah.
I know people are going to be like, oh, you're same thing, you're on demand platform. But it's a self-serve marketplace, the one of its kind in this country. It's not yet been built. And we have ambitions of getting retail and all of them inside. Yes. So please just have a conversation with us. Just write to our email ID.
Yeah, write to our email ID. What's the email ID?
It's Abash and Sabash at Voiro.com, and
Okay.
yours is so accessible, which is Kavita@Voiro.com.
Yeah, just write to us and tell us what you want to see in this platform and how you want to. Lot of we've had we have some tall orders in our demos, but it's interesting because it's great to have market conversations, and it's great while we want it to be transactionally relevant, and we want to obviously ensure that it's of value to Voiro as well. But I think the underlying fact is that we want the open marketplace to remain competitive, right? And competitive to the walled gardens, and competitive and beneficial to our premium publishers, because we believe that in their success lies our success. And I genuinely want good content. So I'm like, guys, please, let's make sure that this gets the light of day. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you.
I know that I have delayed you by a minute on your next call. So back to selling. Thank you, everybody listening, and thank you, Gautam, thank you, Santosh, and thank you, Nina, for producing the show. And see you on the next episode.